is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulated test driver.
So it's 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
That's faster than the factory McLaren driver, and he's done 6 laps.
Let's go race.
Going to be at a track that is home to endurance racing in its time. 12 Hours of the Sebring takes place here, and it'll play host now to yet another round of the iRacing Le Mans Series. I am Corey Maddock, going to be joined by the one, the only Will Vincent, having a little bit of a look at the weather then. Clear skies, 24 degrees in the air, that's 29 degrees Celsius in terms of the track temperature. Winds are very, very calm. A little bit of a breeze coming in from the northeast, but not all that much to worry about. And well, it's Sebring, it's endurance racing, and well, it's just a good stage to be set for a race today.
And what a place also, Connery, for the final round of the championship, of course. Next week is week 13, and then, well, the iRacing community kind of get to decide where we're going to be next time out. But you're right. I mean, this track, the track conditions today, they're nice and calm. It's a nice kind of easy way to finish off the season on a track that, depending on the track conditions, can either be really easy or really complicated.
Exactly, there are a couple of things to think about when you decide to tackle this track. One of the big talking points, though, is just the track surface itself. Very, very bumpy in sections, especially coming through Sunset Bend, and you kind of need a little bit more clearance under the car to ride those bumps and not send yourself in towards one of the barriers. And it's also a very flat racing circuit as well in terms of the elevation changes. It's basically like Silverstone in terms of it basically being built on an old disused airfield.
Yeah, it will be. And of course, with the 3 different classes, I mean, one of the points about this track is turns number 3 through 5, really. I mean, in fact, actually, let's take this one back a little bit. From the exit of Sunset Bend, or even the entry through Sunset Bend, Connery, all the way down to turn number 5, it is really difficult to overtake slower cars. I say Sunset Bend, it's the corner of 1,000 apexes, we like to call it. Turn number 1 really only has 2 apexes through it, and it narrows, it funnels itself down into that turn 3, 4, 5 sweep.
Yeah, we've seen so many instances coming down into that first turn because it's really inviting. It's wide open on entry. You can just dive it down the inside, but it acts more like a funnel, and all of a sudden it is very, very close quarters fighting coming on the exit, and some drivers can't deal with that well, and but I think with the strength of field that we have here for today's race as we take over into the race session, I don't think that will be too much of a problem at all. So now as the cars do decide to get themselves on towards the grid for our full pace lap as usual here at Sebring, here are your LMP1 qualifying results. Patrick Wolf, as ever, taking pole position. Joining him on the front row will be Glorious Weed there, driver of number 28, doing a very, very good job to get on the front row with the PRT driver of Patrick Wolf. Behind them, you've got Dave Halink and Julian Ribelau, comprising of the second row. Third row goes to Giancarlo Bartolini and Gabriel Rus as well, lining himself up P number 6 in class. Christian Hewitt, P number 7, Jose Serpa, P number 8, Cedric Krojic and Syandra will get themselves inside the top 10 in qualifying. Then rounding out your 12-car LMP1 field is Arcadius Newman and Sylvian Moran. Looking at your LMP2 field then, 11 cars in this one. Ronnie Nunez taking pole position with a 146.665. Joining him on the front row will be Pascal Stix. So that'll be a very interesting battle at the front, but let's just see what happens on this race start. We've got Tyler Hervius and Carlo Labate comprising of the second row. Third row will go to Rebecca Pauline and Loic Guiardo there. Further down, you've got Maxime de Tilly, Julian Boots, you've got Jacob Lehmann as well. Further back through the field, Calvin Freudent and Hans Gunnar Hansen will round out your 11-car LMP2 field. And then we'll go on to the biggest fields in terms of the number of cars here today. The GTE field, Antiohola taking pole position. Yunya Kitora there. Sorry, as I do struggle with the name. Only a good fraction of a second behind, almost half a tenth of a second, separate the top two in your pole position fight in GTE. Second row, Yannick Lapshan, Lucas Yetzat. Third row, Thibaut Kazubon and Arthur Lehook will gain themselves those positions. And then even further back towards the midfield, we've got the likes of Alex Simonek, Nestris Kioskalu, Janis Trodakis, Scott Brazier as well, lining himself up. P number 33 overall, Bruno Fontalba, Michele Ricci, Marco Nessi as well further back. Barry Morrison, who has been a feature in this series as well over the past couple of weeks. We've also got Krista Dambiet, Cyril Rodriguez, and the one, the only, Joel Grez, rounding out your 40-car field for this evening's race.
Yeah, indeed. And one thing I noticed at the very rear, Joel Grez, from the very rear of the field here today. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to work himself back up. But if there is a driver that can do that, then I believe he is going to be one of them, because, I mean, I've seen him do some fantastic stuff in Friday Prime Time over the years. I think I talked about it once already this season, the fact that we once actually managed to race an IndyCar race at Watkins Glen with one arm.
Yeah, is that's just really impressive. I struggle running those sorts of races with 2 functioning arms, so it's really a testament to that driver's skill. As looking through your GTE fields, we do have a Ford alert. Janet Stradakis, number 8. They're staying pretty much mid-pack in that GT field, so he is, if I'm looking through correctly, he is the only Ford in that entire GTE field. We do like to see a Ford when they crop up, don't we?
Yeah, I do. As I'm just going to show you, we are sticking with this camera to show you the gap between LMP1 and LMP, and it's absolutely huge. Now, this is a wide track, but... sorry, a wide track, a long track. But, I mean, the gaps that these cars have put already, and they're not even halfway through the lap yet, is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. The tail end of the LMP1 field coming on the corner, which is turn number 10. The LMP2 field just rounding themselves around turn number 7, which is the hairpin. So that is a huge distance between those classes. The gap between LMP2 and GTE is a little bit smaller, but a lot of space trying to be gotten here by the LMP2 field, dropping themselves off the back of your prototype ones. But as they round themselves around the back for a full pace lap, and now this full pace lap is going to mean that the pit stop strategy is going to be a little bit tighter than usual. Sebring, one of those few tracks in the iRacing service where you do have to do a full pace lap, and that's due to how long it's been on the service.
And also, one thing that is worth noting is that downforce levels as well will dictate pit strategy quite a bit. I've done a number of IndyCar races over the years here, and it's one of these tracks where you can use pretty much any form of downforce setting you like. High, medium, low, but it does have an impact on your fuel usage.
Yeah, it really does. As you mentioned, because of the pace lap, it's going to be a little bit tighter, but it's still going to be the usual strategy in terms of the one scheduled stop for every single one of your classes. The LMP1s usually coming down first, then the LMP2s, then the GTEs can go quite a distance into this race. But we're coming up towards Sunset Bend now for the LMP1 field, so that pace car will soon drop itself down onto the pit lane, and then we can get this race underway. Patrick Wolf is going to be starting on the inside line for turn number 1. Actually, let's Claudius Reed get a little bit ahead there. Patrick Wolf has the control of the field. Patrick Wolf will decide to go, and there we go. Green flag racing here at Sebring for its hour-long event. Fairly quiet at the front of the LMP1 field. Battling further behind, though, between Syandra and Jose Serpa coming through turn number 1, but they all get themselves single file very, very quickly, although there is a little bit of jostling out right to the back of the field. The number 29 and the 32 deciding to have a little bit of battle through the first sector, but they'll sort themselves out. That's Krolczyk getting ahead of Arcadius Newman there, as we have had the LMP2 start as well. Ronnie Nunez still leading the way. Tyler Hervius has actually gained the position up into P number 2, puts Pascal Sticks down into P number 3. And looking at your GT field now, their GTE field, they're starting to come across the line as well to take their race start. Antiohola still leading Ray. Lapshan has got himself up into P number 2. So Kitara has got himself down to P number 3. There's Kazu Bon as well, who's also gained a position up into P number 4. So in the LMP2 field and the GT field, there's a little bit of shuffling. Yeah, indeed. So as well, at the frontish part of your GT field, we're actually going to just have a look on board with Kazabon in that number 3 machine as they come down in towards the hairpin for the first time in this event. Note, as I said, the gap between the 3 classes. Now, normally, that would mean if you all bunched up together, it will take a good number of laps before you end up in a situation of lap traffic coming in. Because there's such a big gap already, there's a good chance that where about in lap number 4, we might start seeing this. Look at this! In towards turn number 1 there, Connery. Wolf, Weed, and Geeling going at it. Ooh, that was a little bit of a moment there between those 3 drivers, but almost 3 wides coming down in towards turn number 1 that they get themselves sorted out for the relatively tight and twisty section straight after. But that does mean that they actually stay pretty much in the order that they came across the lines there, so no positions really challenged, but that's what we were talking about right at the start of the event, Will, how wide that turn number 1 is. It invites the 3 wide. It's so tempting. There's something in the driver's head that goes, hey, you have enough space to go 3 wide here, but the thing is, the rational part of your brain says, no, this corner's going to tighten up.
Yeah, because of the fact when you get down towards turn number 1, there's really only a groove and a half to make it work. We've seen some big crashes, of course, in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series there a couple of years ago. That NX Racing driver, his name's just eluding me for the moment, but will come back. But in LMP2, Connor, you've also got a close battle going on out front, so all 3 of your classes are actually really close, separated by just a couple of tenths of a second.
Exactly, no one's really had a horrible incident early on, although saying that, I do spot a car that is actually down on towards the lane. That's Scott Brazier, who has been in the wars, so that's the only car that has, for all intents and purposes, retired from this event. I believe it was a first lap incident that unfortunately didn't see that for Scott Brazier, as I don't think he's going to come out anytime soon. Looking at the rear end of that Ferrari, also the front left is pretty butchered as well, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah, just having a look at that GT back at the moment. I haven't yet seen the Ford. I am keeping my eye out for the Ford, though, Connery. And I'm glad that Scott Brazier was not the Ford. Otherwise, all that talk about Ford machines here today, that would have all been for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But the Ford that is out there on circuit, Giannis Chodakis, driver of the number 8 Ford. Currently sticking himself well within this GTE train. The GTE class just really hasn't spread out at all. They've all kept within touching distance of each other, but all I was saying that, let's hope they don't touch and have a massive accident as they head their way through the Le Mans corner, the Le Mans section, out onto the all-man straight now to on their second lap of the race. We won't see any moves, I don't think, coming down into a sunset bend. Anthony Hola looks just for a moment trying to get the race lead back from Yannick Lapchan, but Lapchan does manage to keep himself ahead as Katora there. It's a very different line coming through Sunset Bend, the P number 3 driver, and he's going to get challenged here coming across the line by Kazu Bond. Kazu Bond's in 2 minds about whether to go for this move around the outside, perhaps looking for the cutback, looking for the momentum through the middle of the corner. You get to see how much more speed he carries and how he's not able to deal with it.
Yep, so much speed, he actually runs off the racetrack. And, well, that's what we always say. Again, 1,000 lines through Sunset Bend. There are different ways in towards turn number 1. And you've always got to be careful, especially when the pit stops occur as a consequence of that, because people will break in early towards turn number 1 and kind of try and diamond off. And then there are people that like to run it out wide early and just know their car will tighten up through the centre of the corner.
Yeah, exactly. It also just goes to show how setup dependent that this track is. Multiple philosophies do work in terms of the downforce, so it is it's a very interesting fact about this racetrack as we're looking at what is going to be LMP2. Look at the battle right at the front of the field now. P number 1, P number 2, P number 3, all still very close indeed. Tyler Herbius, Ronnie Nunez and Pascal Stix. But right now, Nunez has managed to get himself back up into P number 2. But the thing is, he did start in pole position for that LMP2 class. So that is kind of not the greatest start for Pascal here.
It's not, but losing 2 positions at a track like this, when the traffic...
Excuse me, started P number 2. There we go, I just wanted to correct
there we are. But when you've only lost a position on a track like this, with traffic the way it's going to be, you don't want to panic. There are tracks like Road Atlanta when people get into that panic mode immediately if they lose a position. Yes, it can be hard to overtake here, but you talked about how close the pit stop traffic can be. 1 extra lap here is worth a lot. So saving a bit of fuel can be worth a lot, depending, of course, on what the downforce levels of these cars are. And that Ava Simsports car of Pascal Stix is still within 1.2 of your class leader.
Yeah, definitely still within touching distance, so this is kind of just where you need to be, where you're comfortable being at this stage in the race very early on. You know, inside the first 10 minutes, you can still see the leader and P number 2 in sight. You know you're doing a good job. It's just a case of just hanging on to them, just sitting in their draft, and maybe make those moves in either the pit stop phase or in the very last stint. But looking elsewhere right now, especially down towards your GT field where a lot of action has been very, very close to happening, but hasn't quite really had that spark just yet. But if they're going to stay together like this the entirety of the event, there are going to be fireworks soon.
It's a bit like, and I know that university or college, depending on what you want to call it, is just restarting in a lot of Europe. It's a bit like that first night when everyone goes out, everyone's looking as though they're going to make it a great night, but everyone's just hanging back for the first half an hour or so, and then it's going to go bananas, crazy. I can't say Aloha because that's an official party. I might get sued. But Ahola, again, he is putting that pressure on. And it's more of a case at this track as well, is that you do sometimes you try to pressure a driver into a mistake, because there are a lot of big braking zones here, of course. Turn number 3, you've got yourself one down at the hairpin, you've got one down at Cunningham Corner, you've got, traffic already.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the kind of punishment you get for spreading the fields out too much too early, coming towards the race start, is that the traffic arrives much quicker than you're perhaps expecting. Oh, that's a big instant for Dave Haling coming through Sunset Bend. What has happened there? I just caught the tail end of it on my particular screen, but he just carried so much speed into Sunset Bend. I don't think he'd even be able to make the corner, even if there wasn't traffic.
Yeah, and as a consequence of that, they almost went 5 wide down that corner straight away. Let's try and find a replay there. Dave Haling, number 1 car. So this is on board with him, Connery, on the run down into Sunset Bend in that number 1 car. Going to have a look from the aerial coverage coming in, and it should give us a good angle right about now. Oh, back end just slides. So the back end slides out as he's trying to slow it down. Then he runs into the rear of a GTE car, and the field just kind of scatters as a consequence. I mean, just have a look at this, actually. Shot I'm just going to put up for you now, because you're going to see just how crazy your front stretch gets in about 5 seconds time.
Yeah, we're just watching the replay of, you just saw briefly Dave Haling hit the wall there, and then look at this, 4 wide down the pit straight there, in amongst the traffic, a little bit of contact between the 2 prototypes there, 3 wide down in towards turn number 1 once again, and no one, apart from Dave Haling, coming off really bad because of that. There was a GT car that did get spun as a result of that instant, but there's no terminal damage to that machine from what I can see. So they'll be getting themselves off and away. I'm just trying to find who that GT car actually was that Dave Haling had the unfortunate instant with. I believe it was Barry Morrison, as we will see his on board on the screen right now. So he's dropped back through the field just a little bit, but he's just in general going to be okay, because that would have been much worse. I'm just looking back at it now. It's going to be the number 3 of Kazu Bon that got the brunt of the impact from the LMP1 car, and he has a little bit of rear end damage, but nothing that's too serious, nothing that'll affect his pace too much, so he should be okay. Yeah,
there's a replay then of Kazu Bon into Sunset. Well, I say into, in the middle of Sunset Bend more than anything else, and that is going to be the big danger zone when we do have all 3 classes running on the same piece of, I'd normally say asphalt at this point, or shall we say concrete, Connery, because that is where, that corner in particular, is where you've really got to be careful. And the LMP1 cars, of course, want to thread the needle, go as fast as they can, but on that kind of concrete asphalt, it makes it very complicated. Concrete asphalt, concrete surface.
Yeah, a lot of the drivers do try to avoid the vast majority of the bumps coming through that corner, but if you do have to go offline to try and make those passes, then it can be a pretty sketchy situation as you go over those bumps, and sometimes they just completely upset the car, not making the car not want to turn in, or just swapping the ends of the car. It's just not the ideal situation at all to try and make a pass through there. But you kind of have to. Your hand is kind of forced because of how many lines you can take through there and how important that run down towards turn number 1 is.
Yeah, as just having a look on board with second place in LMP2, running Nunez right now as they work themselves towards turn number 12 on track. And this is actually my favourite section of track if I'm in an LMP2 car. I don't like it in LMP1 because you're really twitchy through here. as you've got to put the power on, of course. The hybrid power will kick in quite easily. But that section LMP2 car, it's a hassle, but it's a fun hassle.
Yeah, it really is. As that battle on your screen there between P number 1 and P number 2, still very, very close between Tyler Hervius and Ronnie Nunez. Nunez was the pole position sitter for the LMP2 class. Tyler Hervius started a little bit further back, P number 3 there for the driver of the number 19. So they've gained good positions on the start, gotten themselves into the driving seat in terms of the class lead. And now let's see if he can hold that when we come up towards that pit stop phase, because if he's sitting right at the front of the field, he's not going to get any slipstream from around the other cars. He's just going to be sort of playing around perhaps with lifting and coasting slightly, and maybe just taking different lines, lifting the coasting through the corners. I'm not sure why I got myself confused there, but the important thing to note is he won't be able to fuel save as much as the cars behind him that are just basically sitting.
You're right. You're completely correct on that one. I was also thinking, the sun is setting on the season. The sun is setting. It's a nice glow, shall we say, here at this racetrack this afternoon. Also reminds me about the fact that Top Gun is being delayed by a year, as we've got Casabon has had himself another incident on the looks of it, just completely falling down our timing and scoring screens. Now this one, I've got a feeling might be a part of that damage he had earlier.
Entirely. Let's have a look at the replay. There was a little bit of contact with Kioskalu coming down. He had a launch right for the car and he slipped himself in front, but he got tagged around there by Kioskalu.
You know what? I'd be bold and say, sorry, I slid across you because I had damage through the car, couldn't put the power down. I could get away with that.
Yeah. He could potentially get away with that, but the thing is, the position was gained there by Kazubon. He slotted himself, however small the margin was, he did slot himself ahead of Kioskalu, and Kioskalu just, he didn't have a lot of room to work with, but there is rear-end contact there between Kioskalu and what is going to be Kazubon. So obviously Kioskalu is going to be at fault there. It's just one of those things. Maybe he can claim that he didn't have enough time to react, since that all did happen very, very quickly and in very close quarters as well. But sometimes you just do have to give the other car a little bit of breathing room, shall we say. Yeah, as having P number 5, 6 and 7 in this GTE. GTE is the one that's been having all the action here today for the most part. But I've also noticed is that the variances on the lap time can be quite big in GTE as well. Sometimes drivers are about half a second, sometimes a second faster, then they lose half a second to 3/4 of a second the next lap. Yeah, so the consistency is, for one word, interesting in the GTE field. Maybe that's because of some of the lap traffic that they have been dealing with, but right now that's only a problem for the rear end of the GT field, as Gabriel Rus is trying to make his way through on them right now. But the rest of the LMP1 field, if I'm just having a quick look at my track map, actually the LMP2 field will be the next ones coming up on them, the bulk of the LMP2 field right at the front of the field. And then it's going to be the LMP1 that's going to end up being relatively similar timings here. So we might have that interesting phase of a multi-class race where all three classes are trying to lap each other.
Yeah, indeed. So there is the driver of Tyler Hervius. Right now he's still only about half a second ahead, which is nothing in the grand team. It's absolutely nothing between Hervius and Nunez as they'll storm themselves down past Le Mans once again. Nice look at the kind of camera in the ground on the exit of Le Mans, and in an endurance race you see that part of the track being abused quite heavily, as there is our 4GT that's just gone through as well. Turn number 16 is a lot more complicated than people think. So many people push wide there. A lot of cars are back end like to step out on you as well. But there is our LMP2 race leader, and there is our LMP1 race leader. Should we go on board of the LMP1, Connery?
I think we should. Of course, there are only the Porsche 919 hybrids in this field right now. No Audis, of course, so hopefully we'll see a fix to that in the not-too-distant future. But, yeah, Patrick Wolf just an absolute master in these prototype cars. He was incredibly quick in the HPD, in the LMP2, and those skills can just easily be transferred over into this LMP1. Of course, you do have a good couple more gadgets to be able to have to manage behind the wheel of that LMP1 car. The hybrid system, the energy recovery system is a huge part of what makes a good driver behind the wheel of those cars, knowing when and where to use the extra power that you have.
Indeed so. So we apologise for that 0.1 of a second stutter that we had there. But we are on board with Patrick Wolf. He is working himself down towards the kink. And this is where he's actually going to be seriously lucky, because he's going to catch all of this traffic on the exit of Le Mans. And that is lucky. But how many will he get? 1, 2. Let's see the count here. If you're a drummer, that's as far as you can go. 1, 2. 1, 2. That's 4 drivers he's up to. And he's also got a nice gap as they come into Sunset Bend. But look how much they close up.
That is just the LMP1 dominance through a high-speed corner there. Just the huge amount of downforce that these cars have. You'll get more cars, and I think we've lost count of that already. But he has made his way through a good chunk of this field just on the Allman Straight and on the pit straight as well. And he's not really getting held up at all. Maybe he'll get held up over the next couple of apexes with the traffic ahead. But this is just a dose of luck and good traffic management from the Pure Racing Team driver, which is what we've come to expect.
Oh!
I just say that. Patrick has to jinx me every single opportunity that he gets.
Yeah, I mean, that would have cost him a good second and a half. You can see some tyre smoke coming up there. That does bring Claudius Weed into it, but Weed's going to have himself a lot more issues. I mean, look at that. That's actually going to become a battle going on for third place. Actually, no, it's not. Because River Low has been miserable in traffic. And we've got 2 drivers already who have made themselves a pit stop. They are Syandra and Gabrielle Ross. This could be a little bit of genius by these two, knowing the fact of how much time they're going to be losing through having to... Sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. Through pitting early and not being in the traffic.
The train of thought loss I can understand. I've already had many of those during the course of this race. Do excuse me, I have moved into a new place, so the exhaustion is getting to me, but Claudius Weed finally trying to get himself through on this traffic on the long straights, which is the most ideal place to do it. Gets those good couple of GTE cars done there through Sunset Bend. You can just see how much speed the LMP1 cars can carry through there compared to the LMP2s and the GTEs as well. But this traffic hasn't really broken up this GTE field. The cars in the line kept coming over and got themselves off and away at the front just a little bit. They're still in a little bit of a pairing. But after the hook, Katora, you've got Lucas Jetsat there in that trio for P number 3 and down. Still very close together, but that battle is going to be spoiled by the sheer amount of LMP2 cars that are trying to make their way through.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just decided that I wasn't even going to talk that time around. I was just having a look at a battle between Pascal Sticks, Carlin Batty, and Rebecca Pauline. Pauline there, Connery, through Big Ben that last time by, almost went off track completely. You could see the car just pushing on into the grass, but she's lost herself in this one lap, about 6 tenths of a second. The Batty did close up to the rear Sticks, but this traffic isn't really helping anyone.
No, it isn't. As you see, 3 wide ahead of Pauline there, as the traffic tries to sort itself out. And Sebring is one of those tracks where things can get a little bit congested. The track is quite narrow in a good couple of places, so you can easily get caught behind the train of slower traffic, especially coming through that first sector. And little bit of a moment off the exit of the corner there between the two cars ahead. That was Pascal Sticks and that Lapchan ahead of Carl Labate, who were riding on board with just for a moment as they head their way down into turn number 1 once again. Labate still trying to get onto the back of Pascal Sticks here, as we'll see a couple of cars down on towards the lane. In fact, Arcadius Newman has brought himself down in, and I believe he has had a moment.
This has been down in turn number 1. Oh my word! Ping pong balls. Oof. Yeah, that was an element of stupidity, I think, kicked in a little bit there.
Yeah.
Because those 3 drivers involved. Now, this GTE car was just a poor, innocent victim throughout most of this. Because in towards turn number 1, there's the first hit. And then you see the number 29, they start playing ping pong balls. And all it was, that number 12 car, I believe it was, just kept on being sideswiped.
Yeah, that is just absolutely insane. Newman, you can see what he's trying to do, go around the outside of the GTE car, but the GTE car is already on the limit of grip coming out of that corner. They're going to go for that track exit no matter if you're there or not, so maybe that was a little bit of a mishap from Newman, but everything else was just a complete mess. Goes off track, gets back on the track, right into the side of Krolzik, and then Krolzik, while trying to get past the GTE car for the next corner, just completely sideswipes Newman as he tries to go back on him. So that is not how to deal with a battle and lap traffic at the same time. So do the opposite of that and you'll probably be alright.
Yeah, we were thinking we were going to get a replay there. Unfortunately, we did not. So apologies there. Our cameraman's probably out having a nice end of season party. Perhaps there's a golden corral around here, who knows. In terms of the pit stops, we've had these 2 interesting ones, like Syandra and Gabriel Roos. Trying to work out if there's anything worth thinking about in there. Maybe they're trying a crazy 2-stop. I don't think that's going to work in the form of that one. But it will still be worth keeping an eye out on at the end of this battle. Carlo Labate, Pascal Stick still going at it for 3rd place in LMP2. And yeah, Newman's out of the race, Keelan's out of the race from LMP1. And then 3 retirees, actually no, only 1 retiree from GTE. And you talked about one already, Scott Brazier.
Yeah, Scott Brazier out lap number 1 of the event, and the damage is terminal enough to mean that he's not going to come out anytime soon before the end of this race. But meanwhile, there is a battle in GTE, or rather, another group that's hanging around together. This is Arthur LaHook, Kitora, and Jetsat. So for P number 3, 4, and 5 in class, these guys have been pretty close. They've been pretty close to pouncing on each other as well. But just like at the start of the event, things have been relatively calm in this first stint, not wanting to go for any risky moves just yet, especially when you have LMP2s and LMP1s just going down your inside pretty much every single lap.
Battle for GT race lead, though, still stays where it is. Yeah, that Top Gun reference. I mean, this is the Top Gun sunset as you come in towards Sunset Bend right now.
Yeah, it is. Antiola gesturing towards the inside, the body language of that car suggesting that he really wants to get this move done, but not able to at this moment in time. Just follows in the slipstream coming off the corner. There's Maxime Vitili, which will come on the right-hand side in that LMP2 machine. Get those 2 cars done. Down the inside will go Syandra as well, so both sides of the cars being used there by the traffic trying to make their way through. And Antiola still behind P number 2 for now as we go towards the TV cams once again. And this battle, it's been just like the rest of the battles in GTE, we just haven't had that spark just yet, and that will come in the second stage.
Flirtatious is what I'm going to call it. Flirtatious.
Yeah, that is probably a word I should use more. But further behind these guys, in fact, yet more traffic. Sylvian Moran, Jacob Lemon trying to make their way through. So I guess the reason that these guys just aren't going for these moves right now is because they're also so busy looking in their rearview mirrors, in their wing mirrors, just looking at all the prototypes, trying to make their way through. And they just don't have the time to battle as Antiolola gets into the back of the prototype. Jacob Lemon goes for a spin, and it's not often that you see a GT car go into the back of a prototype.
Well, the biology lessons make it very clear that a prototype does not mate well with a GTE car, but we're going to get ourselves a replay anyway of Atola as they work themselves down. This is turn number 12 on track. That's the number 40 machine. Yeah, especially... I mean, normally you talk about the LMP car doing that for a GT car. That was the other way around. It's just proof that mating in that way does not work in any circumstance. What I also was paying attention to was Barry Morrison was in a battle. But one of the things I was going to say, on a more serious note, Connie, is we talk about the wing levels. I do talk about wing and spoiler levels quite heavily at this track because there are so many different ways drivers can go. But of course, that not only affects top speed, it affects mid-corner speed and also braking distances. As a consequence of that, drivers have got to adapt to what someone else is doing on the track because yes, you might be faster at one point, but then you potentially compromise yourself into the next sequence of corners because it's not just one corner straight, one corner.
We have a spinner out there on circuit, and it's the number 40 once again after getting spun by a GTE machine. Jacob Lemon has a couple of issues getting himself through turn number 1, and it was just a loss of traction. Car swapped ends on the exit of the corner, just didn't want to grip up at all, and he actually does hit the barrier quite heftily with the rear left side of the car, brings that down on towards the lane with a toe. So that is pretty terminal, not going to be coming out.
No. I am going to finish my point in some ways because it is worth noting. First of all, with that LMP2 car, I think that was some damage to the aerodynamics, and you kind of don't pick it up through Sunset Bend because you do brake, you can turn the car, you can adjust at the back end of the car steps out. At turn 1, you can't do that. But this is a track which it isn't really stop-start. You can really break the track up into 5 or 6 distinct zones, Connery, of acceleration, medium speed turning, low speed turning, and braking. And as a consequence of that, it's finding a balance. We always talk about Spa being finding a balance, but this track is exactly the same. You've got to find a balance between downforce levels, between things like gear ratios where available, so on and so forth.
Yeah, Sebring is really a track that's a jack of all trades in terms of the corner types. Whether it's a master of none or not is completely up to you to decide. But it's really, really challenging to set up for you. Like you mentioned, so many different corner types, and also having to deal with the track surface being the way it is as well. It requires a very, very great mind to set up a car for this type of race, and which philosophy you go for, because there's driver preference that also factors into that as well. Are you more comfortable with having more downforce on the car, or are you just going to go for outright speed down the straight and then maybe get threatened by the higher downforce cars coming through the high speed corners?
Yeah, I just saw something where time was scoring to him. I'm not sure whether Lucas Chestad actually lost position or whether this was just timing and scoring and adjusting as they worked past the start-finish line. So, just wanted to show the replay anyway. I do think it was just timing and scoring being a little bit on the stupid side as there was Yuna Kataria ahead in one. Some of these times where we rely on timing and scoring in lieu of cameras, and sometimes timing and scoring can say other things, as Ribolo is on pit road and Weed is on pit road.
Yep, Ribolo, Weed, we've got Christian Kuet, we've got Giancarlo Bartolini as well, deciding to head his way in. We've had 2 cars in the LMP1 field decide to stay out, Patrick Wolf and Jose Serpa as well, deciding to go that 1 extra lap as Ribolo will get himself out there on the racing circuit. And this is always an interesting pit exit here at Sebring, because you enter pretty much onto the racing line on track exit of turn number 1, and sometimes that can just be very, very scary indeed.
Yeah, indeed. There's a replay from Julian Ribolo. As we're going to show you 2 angles real quick. This is the first one on board of him as he just goes past the drunken green cone onto track. You can see there's a set of cones that separate the track from the pit road, and that's how close it was. That in itself is fantastic in terms of an angle, but I want to show you another one. This one again by our overhead camera, and coming down in towards turn 1, so you can merge into the track right about here. And I mean, it looks worse when you're on board, but that's only 2 car lanes between these 2 drivers coming onto track as Patrick Wolf now is on towards pit road.
Yeah, he is getting his service done stationary in this pit box at the moment. Jose Serpa will also decide to head his way in, which does mean that the entirety of the LMP1 field has pitted themselves now with about 27 minutes to go. They'll be comfortable, more than comfortable, to get themselves towards the end here as Patrick Wolf will get himself out onto the racing circuit in a little bit of clear air as well. 1 GTE car ahead of him to deal with, but that's not going to cause him any, well, hopefully not going to cause him any issues at all, as Serpa and Krolzik down on towards the lane right now. Krolzik has actually spent quite a while. I think that number 29 is getting some damage repaired that he sustained just a little bit earlier with that Arcadius Newman incident coming down in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, and there's Jose Serpa coming back out onto track. And that's a pit stop time of 19.2 seconds. Nice looking livery as well on that Umbu car, as I'm going to call it. Nice animal of the feline variety on the rear of it. Now, of course, we turn our attention over to LMP2 in terms of pit stops. And we will see, I think, again in this class, the drivers separated by probably about 3 laps in terms of their strategy maximum.
Yeah. As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, that the full pace lap does mean things will be a little bit tighter, so you won't be seeing people do absolutely amazing stints on the field just by the fuel usage through that pace lap. But yeah, a couple of laps to go now for your LMP2 field to decide to head their way in, and then they can get their race sorted towards the end of the race. And of course, we always expect the GTE field to go pretty deep into this race, around about 15 or so minutes to go, and they'll start to think about heading their way in, as the fuel mileage on the GTE cars is pretty good in general, and the fuel tank size is pretty generous as well. In normal racing conditions, they're actually the only one of these, they're the only class in this field that could actually make the hour under normal standard rules of 100% fuel tank.
Yeah. They can, in a normal fuel tank, they can do an hour. Under this, I still think probably today they're going to do about 49 and 52 minutes here today. That will probably vary on how much fuel they use during the pace lap. But it's spread out now a bit in that GTE, so the drivers haven't got the opportunity to really save as much fuel as that top 8 is down on the bottom of the screen. And one thing, of course, that is also worth noting is that next season, Connery, we're going to have another series here on Friday Night Prime Time, and it is the viewers that get to decide what happens every Friday night on iRacing eSports Network.
Exactly, and well, it's a thing that we do like to do on this RaceSpotTV Friday Prime Time. You do get to decide what we broadcast, what official iRacing series that we broadcast here on a Friday evening in Europe, as Tyler Hervius has actually decided to head his way on towards the lane. So that's your LMP2 race leader deciding to get his service done. But if you do like us broadcasting this iRacing Le Mans series, then are they allowed to vote for it again next time?
The Verizon IndyCar series came very close actually to being the first ever to go back-to-back seasons. So we can have this one again. It can be pretty much anything except for the free top-level NASCAR series. Reason being, of course, we have ourselves our own prime time scheduled in the North American market for that one. So pretty much anything, and of course no dirt, because dirt rallycross, because we do that on a Friday night as well. So anything on a road course, basically, or another oval series. That's the rules. Full list of series will be made available.
I do want to commentate some rallies. I think that would be.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
But yeah, unfortunately not available for RaceSpotTV Friday Prime Time. But if there is a series that you really, really enjoy racing that you perhaps don't think gets enough exposure, then make sure you get yourselves organised and get yourselves out there and voting as well. Because there are some series out there that just don't get a lot of coverage. Either they're too low down the standings. The D-licensed series, for example, like the Grand Touring Cup and things like that. I know a couple of drivers that do race those quite often, and they just don't get don't get much of the limelight, shall we say?
No, I just hope that iRacing don't put a slow stick series on around the Nordschleife for every single week, because I know that everyone would vote on that just to spite us. But there have been some fantastic ones over the years. And of course, you can check it out on RaceSpotTV/prime time starting next week. Ronnie Nunez is out of pit road. Pascal Stix is out of pit road. Rebecca Pauline is coming out of pit road as we speak now.
Ooh, Nunez and Stix so close coming off of the pit lane as well. They were very, very close to being side by side down in towards turn number 1, and very close to being side by side once again up through the first sector. But Nunez has managed to get himself ahead. Tyler Hervius did re-inherit the race lead just a couple of seconds down the road. But this P2 battle, this is going to get a little bit spicy, considering how close that these guys were. They weren't even that close coming on towards pit lane. It's just that Stix was able to really make the maximum advantage possible coming off of the pit lane to put himself in this position.
We had a comment. I'd love to hear you guys commentate skippies. Well, the good news is that we have skippies twice a week, if I've got the right intro, which I think's here. Yeah, so every couple of weeks we have got ourselves the 2K World Cup in association with DES Simulation. It is for drivers of 2,500 iRating or above. And it's a mixture of races from your standard 45-minute races through to double headers, a sprint race and a feature race, and even some races where the drivers don't even know in advance. And then on Monday night, it is Club UK Ireland Monday Night Skippies. We've been doing it for 4 years now on RaceSpotTV. We hope to have it on the iRacing eSports network starting next season. But they are drivers from Club UK and Ireland. And some of the racing over the years in that one, Connery, has just been insane.
It's incredible. It's one of those series where you just have these absolutely insane battles and everyone comes out alive. It's absolutely brilliant. It's just like the sort of racecraft in those sort of series. Of course, there was a little bit of a rough patch a couple of seasons ago, for instance, but in recent times it has been very, very good. The standard of racing in that series, the same with the 2K World Cup as well. They were just going side by side, 3 wide into a couple of corners, and they all are just aware of each other. So the racecraft is absolutely brilliant, and it's really entertaining as a result.
Well, yeah. We have both commentated it, by the way. Connery did Monday nights for a number of years. I mean, I do 2Ks with Jake Sperry, and you do 2Ks with me when Jake's not around.
Yeah,
well,
I did so last week when Jake was somewhere in Switzerland, an undisclosed location.
Yes, to be determined. Just keeping an eye out on that GTE battles. We did see Rebecca Pauline. She has closed up now 4 tenths behind Carlo Batti. But it is actually LMP staying quiet all of a sudden. And GTE just starting to come to life. So Lucas Jetstack, number 2 car. Ravinia and Katara, number 5 car. They have only got 4 tenths between them. As I will say, Connery, no one's noticed this yet. We have more Fords than Audis in this race.
I'm not sure how to respond to that.
I know. That's just made you speechless. And you're lead commentator today.
I know. It's a problem. It's a problem I do deal with. But the one of the ways to deal with kind of lulls in commentary and, sort of bits of stutters that happen here and there are battles. And we do have a battle for P number 2, 3, and P number 3, 4, and 5 for your GT field. It's going to get disrupted a little bit by Calvin Quadrant as he tries to head his way through, but that just allows Arthur LeHook to try and lock back onto the back of Katora. There's Katora a little bit wide, losing momentum off the corner, and here is the opportunity, finally a side-by-side in your GTE field. Arthur LeHook versus Katara on the run down towards Sunset Bend. LeHook on the inside, Katara on the outside line. Both lines very, very viable coming through this very, very long right-hander. Final corner of the racetrack. Katara will have the line into the pit lane. I will recover that one.
It's one of those things.
Thanks, guys.
We finally get a battle. And then that one comes and happens. So, yeah, we have got a couple of drivers then on towards pit road. This is actually earlier than I predicted. Number 5, number 15, number 20 machines all on towards pit road, as Lapshin then is going to do himself a service. In fact, no, he's done his service. He is actually going to cross those cones and be out of the way.
Very, very fast pit stop there for the GTE class. They only really need, coming up to about quarter of an hour of fuel, so not long stationary in the box at all, and it's not going to take tyres, even though they are taken at the same time for these GTE cars, because you have to put so little fuel in that there's not really much of a point in taking the tyres, as they can last an hour on the stint anyway, as Guitarra has made himself up through the first sector, so then we'll start to maybe see over the next lap or so the rest of the GTE cars decide that now is a very, very good time to hit. We've had the entirety of the LMP1 field in, the entirety of the LMP2 field in. We're just waiting for this GTE field to get themselves sorted in terms of getting the field to the end of the race. But there is a couple of LMP2 battles to have a look at. We've got Ronnie Nunez versus Pascal Stix. That one that was very close to coming off the pit lane has spread out just a tad as Nunez tries to pull away. And Tyler Hervey is not too far down the road, still could be within touching distance in the final 15 minutes of this event. We've got Carlo Labate, Rebecca Pauline as well, getting very close together out there on the circuit as well. In terms of your LMP1 field though, the closest battle in that one is the 30 versus the 36, so it's Jose Serpa versus Bartolini as they head their way through the sort of middle sector, coming out the first sector of this circuit up through Big Ben now, and they'll head themselves down towards the hairpin. But now we've got the GT leaders in, and Antti Ahola, he's missed his pit stall. He has to reverse back into that one, and that is going to be, could be quite a bit of lost time here. So he could be under threat from the cars behind if he's not too careful. Does manage to get himself off and away. He'll come out in a little bit of clear air here as we see the car of Lapshan actually get himself past. So that was the battle for the race lead. Those two are running really close together, and as a result of that slight lapse in concentration, Antti Ahola has thrown away the race lead. Yeah,
Antti Ahola, had he not made that mistake, would have been alongside coming out of pit road. I mean, you can see the gap there. Just letting it settle down. It's 2.1 seconds. He lost, according to my estimate, about 2.1 seconds. He was much faster on towards pit road. That's where he actually gained a lot of the time. He only lost 4/10 of a second pit entry to pit exit compared to Lapshan, but it was all because of that miscue, just overshooting. You see it here, you often see it at Indianapolis as well, because of that kind of like concrete surface that they use on pit road. It can be very slippery.
It can be, and that's just that is the kind of mistake that, as a driver, it does just get you a little bit down. You get frustrated, and in some cases, you may slam the wheel, you might slam the desk a little bit. At least if you're me, I tend to get very angry behind the wheel. But it's just one. As I said, it's just a lapse of concentration. There's no reason why you shouldn't be missing your pit stall, but sometimes it does just happen because maybe you're on a little bit of autopilot. Maybe you just haven't really practice coming up into your stall on your practice runs, and we'll see another couple of GT cars get themselves in, as they do get themselves stopped very well in their pit box. So maybe a lesson there to Antti Ahola of getting himself stopped in the pit box. But Arthur LeHook has brought himself down towards the lane, so this will be an interesting one in terms of his battle with the number 5 machine. That's Kitora. Kitora's going to head his way through the final corner now. Arthur LeHook is just waiting to get himself between those green cones, and those green cones mean you do 100% throttle. No pit lane speed limit applies from that point forward, and I think Arthur LeHook's got this one comfortably. He's a good second or so ahead of Kitara here.
Yeah, indeed. Jestak is 1.4 ahead of LeHook as well. So there is still a potential battle. It will come down to how much these guys have used their tyres. But Kitara, down to P5 for him. And that, Connery, is all of our pit stops for the season done.
Yay. That is it. That's done. We're in the final 13 minutes of this event, the final 13 minutes of this entire season. and hopefully we can get some fireworks and the grandstand finish to finish things off here for the season of RaceSpotTV Friday prime time. We've got this battle in LMP1, Serpa versus Bartolini, starting to get pretty close as the gap is just fluctuating either way. Serpa is pulling away by 1/10 of a second one lap, but then Bartolini is coming back in a little bit earlier as well. So that one is definitely going the way of Serpa right now, but it can all change, especially with the amount of traffic that is out there on circuit. We've got Carlo Labate versus Pauline as well, very close, dealing with the lap traffic, and oh, that's so close there between Labate and Barry Morrison, but they managed to get themselves through. That was almost another situation where a GTE car runs into the back of a prototype.
Yep, let's go. So let's take a look at that one, shall we? And that's that battle going on. Carlo Labate on board of Carlo then, and this is through that section. I'd say it's a beaut to drive. Your car is set up well, and then LMP2 car comes down into Cunningham, and wow, that was close. That car just, I will say, there wasn't really much on Labate because he was holding his line. Morrison just kind of pinked him down a bit.
Maybe a little bit. As we'll go back to the live pictures and back to this battle involving Rebecca Pauline and Carlo Labate, and we did have an interview when we did the Watkins Glen race with Pauline, as again, oh, you see ahead, Labate just taking no prisoners with the lap traffic. He's really feeling the pressure that Pauline is pouring onto the back of his car right now, and even though he's going for those risky moves down the inside of lap traffic, he's not pulling away at all. He's kind of Pauline's just not letting him get away.
Yeah, indeed so, as Pauline actually is one of the many drivers that we hope to see at Sim Racing Expo as well. Getting aggressive now is Pauline. Pauline getting held up by the Sorg Rennsport car, and now this has really opened this battle up.
Yeah, and this LMP1 car's trying to come through as Bartolini 3 wide down in towards a corner. Contact between the LMP1 and Pauline there as the rest of the traffic will stream by here on the driver's right-hand side. That was a complete mess here. We'll see the replay. Labate down the inside of the lap traffic, same with Pauline, but Pauline was able to carry so much more mid-corner speed that it kind of took her by surprise, and then the GT car slots ahead of her. You can see she's trying to go one way, trying to go other, well aware of the other prototypes trying to make their way through, and it just keeps going from bad to worse with a little bit of contact there in the middle of the corner, pushing her wide. Oh, that was setting up to be a fantastic battle, but unfortunately the traffic got himself involved.
Yeah, the gap's now up to 2.5 seconds on track, and I always say, in fact, I said 10 minutes into the season, Connor, I'm going to say it with 10 minutes of the season still to go. Got to put your head down. It's a new corner, it's a new lap. You can only take it from there, as I think we might be closing in on a little bit of a battle for P number 5. This is Bertolini and Hewitt.
They're very close, heading their way through the first sector now. Again, it just seems that there's constant traffic for these LMP1 cars, constant traffic for the LMP2s as well. In terms of the GT fields, they have spread themselves out quite a bit at this stage. It's not like at the start of an endurance event where you pass whole trains of cars. It's gotten to that stage where there's just packs of 2 and 3 cars that you do have to negotiate, and there's a little bit of a lull, and then another 2 or 3 cars, and then another 2 or 3 cars after that. So it's just constant traffic, and if you're a prototype driver, that is just one of the occupational hazards. Antiola almost runs into a prototype once again. I think he has a little bit of a habit of doing that, but he almost runs into the back of Hewitt with the number 23. I don't know what is up with Ahola deciding that he really enjoys the look of a rear end of an LB1 car.
Yeah, just wants to go fast, I think is what it's trying to say right now. But he's now 2.1 seconds behind Yannick Lapchan, so I presume he's pretty much got to let this one go now, I think. He's not going to gain enough time. Clear at Bertolini is still the closest battle we have got going on track. We would ask, what is Sim Racing Expo? Sim Racing Expo takes place from the 14th and 16th of September at the Nürburgring Nordschleife in Germany, and us, RaceSpotTV, along with iRacing, will be there.
It's going to be, well, the first live event, live from a venue in a sort of LAN environment for me. So that's going to be an interesting one. I've commentated other games at LANs before, but not any sim racing. So I'm really excited to do that. And of course, we have the live shows going on as well that aren't sort of esports related. Well, it's all esports related in a way, but we do have the practice sessions being broadcast, the full qualifying. We have also in between the races as well. We have things like the Sim Racing Observer podcast and chats with drivers, and it's just going to be a weekend full of content.
It will be, and I'm going to need a lot of coffee, shall we say that one now. This is Golguez, by the way, losing a position to Bruno Fontabla. Well, looks like this is on the front straight away, heading themselves down in towards turn 1. Number 16 car just relinquishing a position. And, well, it's not been the greatest day for Guez. Of course, he did start last in class, has worked himself up a few places. But you'd expect a driver of Guez's talent, I would argue, to have maybe worked up a few more.
Yeah, it's not been a bad race, considering where he started, but as quite rightly mentioned, it could have been so much more. He does have another driver on his radar, though, in terms of Fontala. Fontala did get past him on that past lap, so maybe that one is going to start to get away from Golguez as, you know, it's not a bad result when you do finish the race and you do get yourselves a good couple of positions on the qualifying, even if that qualifying is right at the back of the field. It just, I don't know, maybe the track isn't really comfortable in terms of his driving style, and his qualifying was terrible. He hasn't really had a lot of race pace either, so it just could just be a black spot, a black mark on what otherwise is a very, very talented driver at other racing circuits.
Yeah, and a lot of drivers have that one kind of bogey track. I mean, Michael Schumacher had one, for example. All the greats in motor racing have had one. Many people can argue if you're an Andretti, well, your bogey track is Indianapolis, because you can't seem to win there as a driver. Shots fired. But there are drivers that do well at tracks and do well. I mean, for example, I've never been a good driver in Indianapolis, but there's other tracks where I was fantastic at, where actually a lot of people wouldn't expect me to be. As we got a car drifting off and into the wall. Does he save it? All I know, that was a GTE car.
Yeah, that was a GTE machine just having a moment. I'll have to see exactly who that was. I'm not seeing anyone drop rapidly down my timing screen, so it's possibly going to be the fact that they did save that. We will try to get a replay up on the screen for you now, as it's struggling to try and get that one going. As you see the order to decide to head its way through turn number 1.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
I saw something. That was a number 5 car, right?
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Number 5. So
yeah, it was the number 5 car. It was the number 5 car.
And he didn't save it. He's out of the event.
After all of that, he... turn number 1, late on in the event. So we were trying to slow it down to work out who it was. Got a glimpse of the number in the end. But I said this earlier. If you go a little bit too wide at turn number 1, that car can just snap back at you, and the Armco barrier said hello before you knew it.
Yeah, that was huge there for Patera, and that's a shame. He wasn't involved in a battle earlier on with the likes of the number 10 Arthur LeHook, but that one did spread out once the pit stop cycle came into effect. But he was still on for a pretty good finish, and to have it end like that is not ideal, getting the face full of Armco barrier within the final 5 minutes of the race, as we have had, I'm just seeing a driver drop down my time screen right now. Gabriel Bruce has retired from this event. It looks like 3 minutes down on towards the lane, but look at this. LMP2, hello, battle P number 1, 2, and 3 involved.
So we are going to potentially get ourselves a grandstand finish that we've been looking for, as we've got Herviers leading, but Nunez in second, Pascal Stix in third. They've been at it all day long. Now it's a case of who's got the mental fortitude to actually find a way past. And the thing is, there's not much wind speed to help you here. These LMP2 cars don't have all the sexy hybrid power that the LMP1 cars have. These guys have got to find a way of doing it with their right foot. And the corner they're coming up to now is arguably their best opportunity.
could well be, but it looks like those gaps are a little bit too spread out to have an attempt this time. They'll have around about 3 or so laps next time they head their way across the line, depending on the timing of Patrick Wolf trying to come through on these guys. As they head their way through their little corner with 1,000 lines through it, and off down the pit straight they will go as Tyler Hervier sets a 148.3 that last time by, a 148 flat by Nunes, 0.3 of a second faster than your current LMP2 race leader. And then you've got Pascal Sticks there, 148.1 there. So he's gaining on your leader, letting Nunes get away a little bit in that one, but that just means with those times, this front trio is bunching up.
And I can confirm these guys have got themselves at least 2 laps to go, because Wolf will not see the white flag until next time around. However, Wolf will probably catch them down the Le Mans straightaway as they are on the white flag lap, if that makes sense.
Does that mean they will just end the race there and there?
Potentially,
if I remember
yes.
correctly. So
yes.
This could all depend on the timing. All on the timing. Oh, there we go. Nunes having a bit of a power slide there, coming up through the Cunningham corner, up towards Tower now. And Pascal Sticks, this is his opportunity to grab himself a step further up on the podium for your LMP2 class, but not able to capitalize immediately. But he's been brought back into the clutches of the driver number 21, and it has given a little bit of breathing room now to Tyler Hervius at the front of this LMP2 field. So he can just rest a little easier now, just focus on getting towards the end of the race without having to look in your wing mirrors so much at those 2 cars behind. As I'm having a look at where Patrick Wolf is. He's heading his way through Le Mans right now. He'll have 1 lap to go when he heads his way across the line. So again, it's going to be depending on where he catches this particular battle for the podium positions in your LMP2 class. Fantastic run out of Sunset Bend, though, for Pascal Sticks. Driver number 21 tries outside line up through turn number 1. It is possible to make a move, and Pascal Sticks trying to hold on to the car. They'll go side by side up towards turn number 2, turn number 3 as well. Pascal Sticks locks himself up ahead as well, but this battle isn't over. Nunes has been quick through the entirety of the race as well. He'll have to go back if he's given the opportunity.
Yeah, they work themselves towards Big Ben. Nothing will happen just yet. That gives us a chance to look at the replay. Here's Sticks. You see, he thinks about going to the left, then dives it to the right-hand side. They stay too wide. Now, he had that overspeed. He could use that there. Didn't get any wheels, and I think he had a couple of incident points spare just in case he did. But that is how you overtake on the outside here at Sebring. And the most important thing to note is that is your race leader, and this is the white flag that. And Wolf, I don't think he wants to slow down to allow these guys to fight it out.
We'll have to see. He has a 14-second gap all the way back to Claudius Weird, so if he wanted to get this race done, he could, but there we go. Patrick Wolf is going to pass the P number 3 runner in LMP2. Going to look for the pass on P number 2. This could actually give the opportunity to Nunes if Wolf decides to dive his way down the inside out of corner like Le Mans, but he's going to wait. He's going to play it patiently, and you can't argue with that. Being the race leader, he wants to get it home. Off the corner he goes, and he's going to catch the LMP2 race leader as well before he gets to the line. But what a performance it has been by Patrick Wolf. Only one corner, semi-apex to go as Tyler Hervius pushes wide, narrowly avoids the wall, but Patrick Wolf will take the overall race win. Tyler Hervius win in LMP2, as well as both cars will weave their way across the line. Even further back, we've got Yannick Lapchan trying to get himself to the end of the event. Antiola is actually not too far at all behind him, but there's only just a couple of more corners to go. And then Yannick Lapchan can take the race win in GTE. I think that gap's just going to be a little bit too big for Antiola to deal with. Only one corner to go for your GTE race lead. And Lapchan has a comfortable buffer. He's just got to get this one corner right. First apex taken, and then drag the car out in the middle, bring it back for the second apex, and just nail the throttle all the way to the line, and then you can say you've won in the GTE class here in the final round of the iRacing Le Mans Series. Yannick Lapchan, P number 1. Antiola has to settle for P number 2 after that crucial mistake on the pit lane. and Lucas Yetzat, P number 3 in GTE. That was a brilliant race at the end there, Will.
It was. Would it have been a different race had there been another lap? No, I don't think so. I've got a feeling that Pascal Stix was told by his crew that the white flag was going to be that time because they were going to be passed. Because the way he just decided to go for it out of Sunset Bend and just push himself to the outside line, that was the case of, okay, I've only got one chance.
Yeah, it was. And tried but failed. Wasn't close enough to be able to make that move. And there we go. We see the cars just roll their way around. That's Lapshan and Antiohola deciding to take a little bit of a cool down lap, just soak in the glory of finishing in very high positions in that GTE field. But what could have been for that car in second, though? Antiohola, if he hadn't had that issue on the pit lane, if he'd got that car stopped, then maybe it might have been a little bit closer there at the end of the event. But having said that, it is time now to go through your official race results. Overall race win, LMP1 race win, goes once again to the number 4 driver of Patrick Wolff, leading by 13.7 seconds across the line, and the gap is even further back to third place as well. Julian Ribelau ending up 45 seconds behind your race leader. Those top 3 cars are the only ones within a minute of the leader there at the end. Jose Serpa, P number 4, fantastic run for him, gaining 4 positions from P number 8. Bartolini finishes where he started in P number 5. Kiewit gains a position up into P number 6. Syandra gains multiple as well to finish P number 7. And Sylvian Moran there, also a very big gainer in this race. He gains couple of positions from P number 12 to P number 8, and then further down you've got your non-finishers. Gabriel Roos, number 31. We've got Cedric Krolczyk as well. Arcadius Newman and Dave Hayling will not finish in your LMP1 class. Then you've got to cycle things back and have a little bit of a look at this LMP2 results as well. Tyler Hervius taking the race win by 1.7 seconds, and I was getting ready to shout my head off if he hit the wall there coming out of Sunset Bend on the final lap, but he managed to keep it on the racing surface to take the race win. Pascal Stix finishing P number 2, beating out Ronnie Nunez there in the battle over the final couple of laps. Carlo Labate and Rebecca Pauline will bring things down to P number 5. Julian Booth there, P number 6. Loic Guiardo, P number 7. Maxime Desilly will finish P number 8. Calvin Frodon, P number 9. And Hans Gunnar Hansen there rounds out your top 10 in your LMP2 class. And the top 10, well, that's not saying much considering our only non-finisher is Jacob Lemon finishing P number 11. And then this very, very big GTE field. Yannick Lapshan taking the race win by what is only almost 0.6 of a second at the end there. So very close between those 2 drivers. You don't need to explain what happened to the Finnish driver of the number 13 there, since I've already mentioned it multiple times. But Lucas Yetzat will finish P number 3. Arthur Huck, P number 4. Michele Ricci, P number 5 when all is said and done. Pretty quiet race, but has gained positions throughout. And Christian Dambiet as well, pretty quiet, but ends up finishing P number 6. Alex Simonich, P number 7. Barry Morrison will end up finishing P number 8. Kioskalu and Fontalba will bring things down to P number 10. Then looking further back, you've got P number 11, Joel Guez, and then Cyril Rodriguez, Thibaut Cazubon, who had damage early on in this event, has to recover to finish P number 31 overall, P number 13 out there in class. And then you've got drivers that unfortunately did not finish in the GTE field. You've got Kitora there, you've got Marco Gabriele Nessi, you've got Giannis Dragakis and Scott Brazier, unfortunately out on lap number 1. So, we need to take a little bit of a breather here. We'll have the post-race show coming right at you for the RaceSpotTV Friday primetime in just a couple of moments after this.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulated test driver.
So there's 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
Oh, that's it, 46. Wow. That's faster than the factory McLaren driver. And he's done 6 laps.
Let's go race.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers. Oh, there we go! They touch!
This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Frankie! Down to the inside of Hoosie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up. I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Well, it is done. That is it for the for the entire RaceSpotTV Friday Prime Time for this season, at least. But before we go, we do have a little bit of a post-race show to be getting on with here. And well, for those who have been typing "Get Rebecca an interview" hashtag Get Rebecca an interview out there in chat, you're just gonna have to wait for a couple of moments, since we do have Antiohola currently in the commentary booth as well. And Will, you've got a couple of words with him.
I do. Apparently. Yeah, it's me. Antiohola. Hello, Team Bushink Racing. Coming home here today in GTE in second position. But let's talk about that pit stop, shall we?
Yeah, I bottled it. Didn't go nearly as planned.
I mean, I worked out you lost about 2.1 seconds. And you were about 2.1 seconds back coming out of pit road. Your calculation similar to that?
Yeah, exactly.
So you did actually close back down, but what we've seen here is it's been pretty hard to overtake in these GTE cars today. Is there a particular reason? Was it the track conditions? Was it lack of wind speed? Was it the other cars?
Traffic.
Because it's always a bit of a momentum track as well. Was it a case that you did actually have the opportunities, but people just ended up getting in your way?
Yeah, at the very end when I was catching Yannick, every time I got some time gained compared to him, I lost the time when I got passed by presumably faster cars, and a couple of my own mistakes pretty much cost the win, I think.
Well, let's talk about the actual overall season. You came home second place here today, but it's been an incredible series on RaceSpotTV Friday Night Prime Time of the iRacing Le Mans series. I mean, how's it been for you?
Well, this series hasn't been my main series, but now retrospectively, I should have done the entire season, I think. But yeah.
Well, not to know what's going to be. I mean, week 13's coming up, new season coming up for you in just 2 weeks' time. What are you going to be racing?
I That's a good question. I've seen the week 13 schedule, but I think the next focus is on the Winter Endurance Series, Neo and SEO.
Well, good luck in that. Before we let you go, anyone want to give a shout out to from Team Bushink Racing?
Yeah, thank you to the guys in the team. Thank you to RaceSpot for the stream, and yeah, I'll see you next time.
Well, not to worry. Thank you very much there, Antti Ahola. Back to you, Connery.
Yeah, Antti did actually bring up a very good point there. I also did bring up in the race as well, is that the GT drivers were getting opportunities. They just weren't able to capitalize on them because they were always looking in their rearview mirror at which prototype will dive down their inside for this corner. But having that over and done with now, and speaking of a prototype as well, we're going to head to the LMP2 field, and we're going to have a little bit of a chat to Rebecca Pauline, finishing P number 5 in the LMP2 class. How was your race, Rebecca?
Oh god, what a crazy race. Sebring never disappoints. I mean, the first time that we hit traffic, the LMP1s also hit us, so that was an absolute mess, and it was amazing. Unfortunately, I got a bit of aero damage in a really, really stupid incident, so I had no straightline speed, so you know, I was trying my best to somehow do something about Carlo, but I just couldn't close in on the straight, so I could never make a move, and you know, that little incident with GTE there out of the hairpin, that kind of sealed the deal then, unfortunately. But it is what it is, I can't complain. It's my first race in this car. No, sorry, my second race in this car, so it's okay.
I mean, it's quite a thing you've done here, finishing mid-pack in what is the second race in the car. But before we get onto that incident that you had with a couple of bits of traffic, I think there was more than one bit of traffic involved in that. But
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, at the start of the event, we saw the LMP2 field just almost put themselves half a lap behind the LMP1 cars, which is, well, we're used to seeing the classes spread themselves out over a course of a full base lap, but what was happening in that sort of situation was just Hervius just stacking everyone up. Well, it wasn't Hervius, he wasn't pole position, but was it Nunez just stacking everyone up and creating that gap?
Yeah, basically, we had a really, really slow pace lap. I mean, really slow. It felt like we were barely moving, really. And then the actual start was actually at a fairly high speed. Like, you know, pace car speeds are usually around like 80 kilometers per hour, and then our actual start was like 120 roughly. So that was interesting because we were like going fairly fast for a rolling start. But I don't know. I'm not really a fan of those huge gaps. But you know, it is what it is. That also meant we could just, you know, have a nice relaxed start on a straight, no weird stuff with the green flag coming out in the middle of the last turn or something, so it's okay.
Yeah, it was certainly an interesting thing to see, as we don't usually see it, but going on to that incident that you did have with the lap traffic, getting yourself that aero damage, just take us through that, because it did seem like just a comedy of errors. Well, there weren't really errors, but it was just a sequence of events that just didn't go your way at all. You went for the inside of a bit of lap traffic, almost running into the back of the car of the same class ahead of you, and then that GT car slips in front of you again, and then you can't find a way around, and there's more LMP1 cars trying to make their way by. How confusing was that from your perspective?
I was aware of the LMP1 behind me, but I wasn't really looking out for them. Like, I knew they were there somewhere, but I also knew there wouldn't be a factor going into the chicane, into the hairpin. So my thoughts were basically that I don't want to have Carlo get past the GT car while I have to wait behind the GT car through the corner. So what I really wanted to do is just follow Carlo through, which I could have done, but then he was just a tiny bit slower on the apex than I thought, so I actually gave him a tiny, tiny, tiny bump. It wasn't even a 0x, it was... But I think his car moved a little bit there, so, you know, that kind of hurt my exit a lot. And, you know, all I wanted to do was just stay on the right side of the track, just try to somehow keep up with Carlo, but, to be honest, I don't quite know what Crystal was thinking there. He was probably thinking that the LMP1 was going to pass him on the other side, so he decided to pull to the right or something, but I don't know why he did that, because the LMP1 was like 2 car lengths back. Like, I wasn't even thinking about that car because it was so far back, so, I don't know, that was a bit unfortunate. We had a little chat about it after the race, and we kind of agreed to just, leave it be for now and talk about it tomorrow. It's not a huge deal anyway. I mean, it wasn't a race ending or anything. It's just kind of cost me the chances for P4 there. I think it was just... I don't know why he moved it up to the right. I'd need to have a chat with him about it, but it's okay. And then in the next corner, of course, like the LMP1 was kind of really, really slow on the apex next to me, so I turned in on that as well, which was a bit stupider than my part. But it's okay, we survived.
Yeah, you survived. You managed to pull out a pretty good finish as well, all things considered. As now we're doing now we're at the end of the season. This is it for the iRacing Le Mans series on RaceSpotTV Friday primetime, unless of course people vote for it next season as well. So, what are your plans for the next couple of weeks, next couple of months in terms of iRacing? Because I know at the end of Watkins Glen you came in and said you didn't have a team. Now you do. So what are the plans?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, another little thing. As one of the two community reps, together with Tim Greven, please vote for this again, because this was a pretty damn awesome run for my series, so to speak. Let's do it again, guys. Let's do it again. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, well, I joined Race Clutch. I'm super happy. Great people, great drivers. I really could be happier with the decision that I ended up making. And well, what are my plans? Some people might have seen me farm Rallycross a fair bit on stream, so I'm getting my iRacing up for the qualifiers for that in Season 1. Obviously GT is inevitably the plan, sort of. We're not doing SCO as far as I know, because that was kind of... the schedule's kind of clashed for us, so it's probably going to be Neo for me as well. But yeah, my personal focus is probably on the qualifiers for 2019 Season 1, and I'll try to do GT and Rallycross, and maybe F1 if I'm good enough. I'll give it a go.
Trying to dip into everything then. That's basically what I got from that. Just nothing is off limits in terms of the cars that you decide to drive. But before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank, especially from your new team?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting my series, so to speak, because that was absolutely awesome. Yeah, I'd like to thank Race Clutch and all the people at Race Clutch for the super, super warm welcome. It couldn't really have gone any better. I'm really, really happy to be with that team. So that's awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy.
I mean, why wouldn't someone be with that finish? But well, mid-pack might be might be disappointing for some others. But if you have two races in the car, then I guess it's a good thing. Will, what can I say? Like 2 races finishing mid-pack. That's something to be commended.
No, oh, actually, Sharton, there we are. No mean feat. I got my words out in the end there, Conrad. Well, unfortunately, we can't just have this series because Rebecca's told us to do so, because we have got an entire community of iRacers that will vote, and voting will go up next week for that one. Basically, when Hugo shouts at me to change the URL and then does it. But it will go up next week during week 13, as it always does, and you, the iRacing community, get to choose for the 12th season in a row what we will show here on RaceSpotTV every single Friday night. Although, Connery, we're not doing race number 1.
Ooh.
Come on, Connery, think. Where are we going to be in exactly 2 weeks' time?
We are going to be somewhere in Germany, particularly in and around the Nürburgring.
Yes, which means that we can't be doing Friday night primetime.
Oh, that's a shame. I wonder who's going to cover for us. Probably getting Jack here again.
Sorry, Jack. Sorry, Randy. Because Paul can't do it, because it'll be Randy and Jack.
Oof, that's a pairing.
Yep, but we'll be in Germany.
Yeah, we will. And we'll be commenting on events from there with, of course, Jake Sperry as well joining us for that. And that's going to be brilliant. You've got the Porsche Sim Racing Trophy, the sort of knockout stage events that they put on with the sprint races in the Porsche. And you've got the GT500 as well, the team race, where they actually do driver changes in person, legitimately. instead of in a 24-hour event on iRacing.
I need to stop you. I need to stop
Sorry.
you. No, for a second. I need to stop you. They're selling mince pies at Asda.
Whoa.
It's not even September yet.
The real tragedy about this, Will, is that I don't have an Asda near me.
All right, I'm hitting the music, Connor. You finish it off.
Yeah, this is starting to derail just a little bit, but that is going to be it. That is week number 12 done and dusted. The entire season of the iRacing Le Mans series here on RaceSpotTV and, of course, on the iRacing eSports Network. Whatever you vote for during this week 13 will be on RaceSpotTV Friday prime time for next season. So we'll be back then with whatever you decide. Goodbye.